realizing that all of the suffering and complicated thinking about yourself and about the world and about other people and your life is basically nonsense is a profound relief. And profound relief doesn't mean that you can kind of just, okay, say, everything is nothing and go back to the way that you've been living your life, but it's actually a moment of insight to realize the sound of the bird is as real as every thought that you've ever had about anything. Where to go from there is the sound of the bird in the butterfly, so to speak. And it's a really dynamic experience to find yourself and also to enter into this place where the notion of self is irrelevant, where the notion of words and phrases and stories about the world, about politics, about countries are irrelevant in nature or are inherently irrelevant. And once again, that doesn't mean that you don't use the toilet, drink water, eat food, and sleep and take care of what's needed to take care of. But what it means is that it's a totally different reality. And as we begin to establish ourselves in that reality, there is a lot more opportunity for being practical in a way that doesn't cause more and more suffering to ourselves and to other people. And whether you call it God or Buddha or the living word, um, you have to be able to let that go. And it's not really about Buddhism. It's not really about Christianity. It's not really about anything, any word, any phrase, any concept, any idea. And this is partly why I stopped being a monk. Partly because I realized that the spiritual path and my experience and my life of freedom is not about Buddhism. And, constantly holding up the image of being a monk and presenting that image is something that I wanted to experiment with letting go of and not being constantly carrying around with me. For Christians or for Muslims or for people who have the God idea, it's important to understand that God, as this synonym, if you will, for everything or an ultimate reality, is not what you think about it. God cannot be what you think about God. Your relationship with God can't be based on what you think about it. And if we really get stuck, if we really get lost on the path, which maybe is most of us most of the time, we fall into this wrong idea that God or the Buddha or enlightenment or freedom is what we think about it. So you must be very careful. You must be very open and you must be very flexible. And I talk a lot about generosity, and I've gotten flack in the past for talking about generosity as well, because some people think that it's, a scheme or a trick or a plan so that, I can be more wealthy or I can have a way to support myself. But the importance of generosity in the enlightenment path or in the freedom path is developing one's capacity to give away, to release what is held on to. And that is also how we enter into a God mind or a relationship with God or a relationship with everything by learning by learning the power and the truth of our inner capacity to put down, to release, to let go of what we hold on to. And that's where our greed is, that's where our frustration is, that's where our delusion is. Our inability, our lack of capacity, our lack of experience with giving away what we hold on to, giving up, giving out what we're attached to. So, generosity is essential not just to developing the insight of detachment, but generosity is also essential to living a meaningful life. And the reason that so many people are dealing with mental health issues and get caught up in these coaching programs and life programs and entrepreneur nonsense is because people don't have access to a way to live a meaningful life. And generosity is an access point to living a meaningful life. Being a good person through our mental, physical, and verbal actions is precisely a direct way of living a meaningful life. An engaged life that's not just about watching YouTube, not just about consuming, but helping and serving and listening and opening to everything, opening to God, if you want to call it that. So, right now in my life, I'm really stepping into um, this new chapter and this new experience of, yeah, living a meaningful life in new ways, in different avenues, in different experiences, with a lack of a aspect of my identity that was paramount and like most important for the past 7 years. And uh, it's a really exciting and dynamic and rich kind of dimension that I'm entering into. So some people have reached out and said, oh, you're going through a situation, you've hit rock bottom, you're not a monk anymore, look at what you're wearing, look at where you are. You don't have a job, you don't have an ability to support yourself, go and get a job somewhere, start filling out applications. And that's fine enough. But actually, um, I feel a richness, I feel a vibrancy, I feel a capacity to help and to serve and to live well uh, right now. And that's all that I want is that capacity right now. This mysterious, sublime nowness. So that's where I'm sitting, that's where I'm breathing, that's where this heart is beating. And, that's what's going on for me now. And that is more important to me than what I want. And I think that's very beautiful and profound, more so than worrisome. Uh, there's nothing wrong with people striving and doing their best to develop a career and a job and the resources to take care of themselves for long term, whether that's mental or material health. But really, this is all we've got. Getting in good terms with impermanence at the moment. So, developing a relationship of noticing how everything is changing all the time. Most of all, the identity that we hold up in our own mirror or in the mirror of others, trying to sustain or maintain this kind of identity. And there's a lot of truth to that. We do have to be careful. We do have to consider about how others perceive us, but we also have to be able to see through that so as not to be constantly worked up in mental images about ourselves or others or vice versa, right? The mental images that others have about us and the mental images that we have about others. If you take that too seriously, life becomes very limited and also stressful. Aloha Akuna Matata, as it is. Because when there's so much thought and frustration and stress and like this attempt to control our own mental image and the mental image that others have about us, or vice versa, we lose so much of the immediacy, the authenticity, the intimacy, the spontaneity of life as it is right now. You know, we lose our connection to that mind to mind approach, and we lose our capacity to develop rich and meaningful relationships that aren't based on structures of identity that are unnecessary. Some things are necessary, but a lot of what we think about, a lot of what we get involved with, um, a lot of what we identify with or worry about or think that we need to fix is unnecessary. And the last thing you want to do is waste energy in life. So if you're wasting all of your own internal energy, how are you going to absorb and be open to all of the energy around you, the natural energy that has no waste in it? The trees don't waste anything. The sky doesn't waste anything. The temperature doesn't waste anything. Colors don't waste anything. Purity, I think purity is more about flexibility and openness and our capacity to let go. Kind of like if the body is clean is not about the body not being dirty, it's our ability to clean the body, to take care of the body. So taking care of the mind is not all about what we put into it or what we try to get out of it, but allowing the nature of the mind to be paramount. The mind of spaciousness, the mind of emptiness, the mind of nothing at all. And then from a connection to the mind of nothing at all, stepping out into the world. Um, or not doing anything, which is also very important and very useful. I've had a lot of times in my own life where my mind was stressed, scattered. I was worked up about something, trying to be someone, trying to go somewhere, trying to accomplish something, try to develop something. And so I was, all of that stress and all of that heat was in the body. And then I would come across a monk or I would come across a person who was just sabai sabai, wasn't doing anything, was just being. Uh, and that reality of just being is empowering to take care of life from a place of non stress and from a place of non greed. And we've been misled, we've been forced into a lot of us, a perspective of learning and a perspective of development that's based primarily in memorization or grasping onto conceptual thoughts, systems of thinking. And actually, a lot of people don't learn that way. I think children don't really learn that way. I know for myself, I don't learn that way. When there's a connection with something that's in front of you or what's in front of you, that curiosity, that interest, that pull is the place of learning. So opening up to that pool to watch, to follow, to do as that teacher or that person or that natural phenomena does. So like if all of your spiritual path and your approach to what you see is based on philosophy, thinking, concepts, beliefs, ideas, how can you learn from a tree? Trees are the best meditators that there are. If you want to learn how to meditate and you can look at a tree and really soak that in and connect with that and say, look, well, what's that tree doing? Maybe I'll try to do that. A tree is grounded, it's nourished, it's abundant, it gets its health, it gets its freedom from what already is, from the ground and the sun, from above and below. The tree just is. So we can also practice like that. Chineth, fully immersed, fully connected, fully open. We're not giving away any of our personal ability to discern. In fact, we're giving ourselves the space to discern in a way that's not compulsive. And most of our suffering is based in the inability to disconnect with compulsiveness. And that's also a lot of our lack of ability to heal the body and heal the mind. When an animal gets hurt in nature, it knows to stop, it knows to rest. When we get hurt mentally or physically or socially, we have to know the natural response, the most powerful response is to stop and rest in stopping. And that can also be done in motion, but it's kind of like learning when you're learning how to surf. I don't know how to surf, so bear with me, but when you're learning how to surf, you might want to start by learning the techniques on a surfboard that is still, that is solid, right? That's on the earth. And then you can bring that slowly to in motion. But first, you want to find out that it's okay to be on a surfboard on the ground in stillness. And levity is always important, playfulness is always important, but when we lose our connection to like a real sense of the unknown and a real sense of how uncomprehendable, how ununderstandable reality is, having a body, having a mind, being together with everything is, our play becomes degenerate. It becomes play based on winning, play based on losing, right? It becomes being funny to make others laugh rather than embodying funniness that laughter happens from. I don't have any degree. That's one of my considerations right now in moving away from the life of a monk and looking at uh, ways to be able to support myself. I don't have a degree, so um, there's not so many um, opportunities right now. And so we may have a physical health condition that's serious. We may have a mental health condition that's serious. We may have a financial health condition that's serious. We may have a social health condition that's serious. But in the midst of that seriousness, of that condition, of that important situation, there's a clarity of stillness. There's a clarity of nothing in particular. As much as there are all these things around and things inside, there's all this space. So the teaching is that the mind of the Buddha, or the innate mind or the true mind that actually allows this body to breathe and heal and for us to do everything that we do, is spaciousness, is silenceness, is everythingness. A naturalness of tree mind, dirt mind, sound mind, seeing mind, breathing mind, karate mind. Now, now that I'm not a monk, maybe I can become a kung fu instructor. I can open up a do. Yeah. Sit and wait and allow. Because all of that worrying about physical health, mental health, financial health, etc., is not as important as not worrying. And we have to learn, you have to learn how to remember that. But this learning how to remember that is much more likened to a leaf in the process of falling, continuing to fall, rather than a leaf thinking about falling. And what do leaves do? Fall. What do problems do? They disappear. What happens to the body? It disappears. The appearance of the body disappears. Some people say there's no body to begin with, but we're not getting into that right now. As if you could get into nothing being there. What's the difference between night and day? The difference between night and day is the same as the difference between concentration and stillness. So when it's day, where is the night? When it's night, where is the day? So if someone were to bring up a wish or an aspiration of, may the day become night, that would just be an aspiration. And so we have to get used to the temporariness of what we think is important. We have to get used to that. So turning the mind around, turning attention around, turning awareness around to see directly what is direct experience or what is indirect experience. You say you have a body, you say you're a man, you say you're a woman, you say you have this and that problem or situation or good point, right? But if you turn the mind around and then what do you experience? What's there? And you don't give an answer to somebody else. You don't even give an answer to yourself, because the looking itself is the answering of no question to begin with. Look at what is here now. Get over looking over there. Get over looking here. Look at the looking now, the looking itself. The overcoming is in the looking itself. So to overcome what is seen, see the seeing itself. To overcome, because sometimes when we practice meditation, all right, we're focusing on the breathing, and then we get caught up. Am I breathing correctly? Am I breathing intentionally? Am I controlling my breathing? Am I not controlling my breathing? Because this is all supposed to be about letting go, right? So if you're controlling, not controlling, it's a big mess. The answer to controlling or not controlling is to just breathe the breathing. Cut through these notions of control, cut through these notions of preference based on people, places, colors, feelings, and look at the eyeball looking at itself, which is just seeing. Intellectual thoughts will always be bound up in vagueness, will always be bound up in contrivance. So we have to learn, we're learning how to put down intellectual thoughts and open to non-contrivance that is not based on thoughts. If you're trying to think it through, stop. Being in the flow, or use it as a meditation object, like the breathing. And use the breathing as a meditation object as a cutting implement to cut up the cucumber of figuring things out, trying to make it, trying to develop. Cut up the cucumber of your aspirations with the knife of focusing breathing. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to support myself? Sir, so. Release. Sabai, sabai. Mekyo, mekyo. Irrelevant. Use the power of irrelevant. Like a dream becomes irrelevant. Use the power, use the word irrelevant towards the dreams of thinking about things and worrying about things and being frustrated. Mekyo, mekyo, mekyo. That's Thai for irrelevant. Mani Padme Hum. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum. We're too image conscious. We've been bought up by the marketers, by the advertisers, by the salespeople of the world. That image consciousness, that fixation on image consciousness means that we mainly believe in people, we mainly follow people, we mainly follow narratives that are based in a lack of authenticity. Because we're looking for the McDonald's. We're looking for the Cheetos of spirituality. We're looking for the Coca-Cola of spirituality. This ain't Coca-Cola. And being a human being isn't about being an image of a human being that subscribes to a story-based narrative. Humanness is about the beyondness of structural thinking. It's the core of humanity. Yeah, a fake appearance, a fake bravado of confidence, and a fake presentation of experience. A lot of people who are teaching spirituality, running big spiritual retreat centers, and in positions of authority over all kinds of people are just, basically holding up a facade of desire. And we may find that that is the nature of a self most of the time, ourselves most of the time, a facade based on the legitimacy of desire, getting what we want, giving us satisfaction. How about you don't want anything? What is the kamehameha of not wanting anything, of not being anyone, of not being somewhere, of not having a place or time? Well, that's a real meditation. That's an unborn mind connection. And you can't sell that. And friends, please do leave a like if you're here watching this live stream. Um, it's great to have more people coming in, and I think leaving a like somehow helps that happen. The algorithm and all that. Stop trying to find peace and be at peace with difficulty. It's like how to enjoy a bad meal, how to enjoy a bad cup of coffee. Enjoy it. And it's your exceptionalism or idealism about the way that you want things to be, about the way that you want the coffee to be, about the way you want the situation to be, that actually makes it difficult. So put down that expectation and start to enjoy what you have already. Appreciate difficulty without trying to get peace from it, and then be at peace with difficulty. Accept difficulty. This is difficult. This feels difficult. What you think is just, if what you think can't get you a job, why do you think it's going to help yourself out in some way? This is the money of blessings. This is the money of merit. So deprioritize thinking, deprioritize thoughts about things, as you should. And go for a walk or go and do something good. Listen to the Dhamma without talking, without thinking about it, without trying to understand it. The Dhamma is not to be understood. The Dhamma is to be experienced directly, to be seen directly, to be heard directly for oneself. Not a matter of understanding it. Just like sweeping. Sweeping doesn't have anything to do with you understanding sweeping or understanding cleanliness or understanding dirtiness. You just do it. And if you're just going to do it, do good. Put a heart into it, put a value into it, put your life into it. And the real life is in sabai sabai. The real life is in contentment, appreciation for what already is. Mani Padme Hu, Mani Padme Hu, because before we get this right view or this aspect of realization, it's kind of like everything is in reverse. We see inauthenticity as authenticity. We see what is right as what is wrong. We see what is generous as what is selfish. We see what is valuable as what is not valuable. Until we can disrupt the consistent self-based view, everything is in reverse. Everything is kind of backwards. That's why faith in cause and effect is like the essential principle for anyone entering into the Buddhist path or the spiritual path, because you have to have faith in cause and effect. You have to have faith in action and reaction. And when you have that faith, you can start doing good. You can start doing good things and stop doing bad things. And that kind of establishes a platform for yourself to look deeply at what is already. May die. Already. May die. May die. This is the power. This is the true power. And the true power is not about someone as an individual. It's not even about the choices that you make. Why did that happen? Why is this happening? Why did you do that? Right? Why? It's being in accords with the nature of things. So the nature of things, for example, is that everything is impermanent. Everything that you attach to, everything that you grasp onto is already impermanent. So asking why to impermanence is like asking why to the sun. Not only that, it's like staring at the sun and asking why. You're going to burn your eyeballs out that way. So why tends to be a very bad question unless your intentions are clear And there's a practical relationship between your intentions and bringing benefit to others that makes sense. Otherwise, it's probably a lot of nonsense that you are involved with, that you believe in, that you think about, that you ask why about. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we bring the outward involvement and attention internal. We bring the mind that looks out inside. And then there's no looking or searching, but just being and appreciating awareness as it is internally. And actually, there's no internal or external in that. It's just this sense of awareness. In this process of trying to get what we want out of a person, out of a situation, out of an experience, needs to be seen through. The meditation practice is essentially seeing through the validity of trying to get something, even in meditation, even in spirituality, even on the path to enlightenment. That is the home of real meditation. I'm walking a fine line here because, someone asked, "What is this?" and Knock saying he's a Buddha dude. I am can be followed by anything because I am is just a knot. So as much as one is absorbed into that knot of I am, you can put anything afterwards. And that can be inspiring, that can be unsettling, that can seem to be stable or unstable, that can seem to be worthy or unworthy, right? That can seem to be wealthy or poor. If I have to put something after I am, then I will say, no deal, and go from there. You can use the word everything, but just use the word everything. You knock on my door, you say, "What's going on? Where have you been?" You are expected. Get out! The surprise will be that I heard you coming to knock on my door, to come and get me, to come and get me involved with something, right? So the moment I, okay, so this is important to be comfortable with spontaneity and to not allow spontaneous experiences. They may be soothing, they may be exciting, they may be worrisome, they may be inspiring. Do not allow spontaneous experiences to direct the mind of awareness. Step back into awareness. Right now I'm thinking a lot about how I'm going to support myself financially to keep living this way, keep living freely. Um, so I'm looking at possibilities to connect with retreat centers or meditation centers, kind of Western led here in Thailand, and see if I could go and do some teachings there. Looking into various job opportunities, but of course, I don't have a degree, and I'm not very inspired or interested to just go get a job and work somewhere, but it's open, I'm open. And these are seemingly real considerations, right? What are you going to do with your life? They sit down the eighth grader, the ninth grader who's failing in school. The parents sit him down and say, all you're doing is watching YouTube and TikTok, and or the 18-year-old who's moved back home or whatever. What are you going to do, right, to support yourself? So it's a real situation. It's a real experience. And so my personal position is, well, I'm supported the way that things are now, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. I feel supported by that as much as I am. And my job and my main field of work right now is to continue deepening and developing that skill and capacity to remember, to reflect upon that I am fully supported by what is right now. And the practice of entering into the door of support of what is right now is training myself. And I encourage you also to try and train yourself to not think about what is seen, but just see. To not think about what is heard, but just hear. To not think about the feelings in the body of the heart beating or the breathing, but to just experience that. and to let the scaffolding and building of your life and your plans to fall down inside of just experiencing without thinking about it. And that's not allowed in a lot of places. That's, hey, what are you talking about? And that's what I don't want to be involved with. So that's why I'm thinking about how to support myself um, financially. But the problem in that is stress that can be accumulated by trying to support oneself over there in the future in some thought of yourself, right? Some story based version of yourself. And also the side effects of becoming successful in having a lot of what you want, which makes this training all the more important, all the more valuable, all the more vital. So, what to do when the Buddha comes for you? You don't have to do anything because the Buddha is a manifestation of compassionate emptiness. So invite the Buddha. Don't invite me. Invite the Buddha. Invite a compassionate embodiment of nothing in your life as it is right now. In the bathtub, on the toilet, going for a walk, helping a friend, listening to someone, creating your art. Invite the Buddha. Invite a wish to suffering, a wish for suffering to end with nothing. A wish for suffering to end without needing anything, without needing any solution. One hand here, another hand here. Breathe however you can breathe and breathe that way deeply. Listen to the heartbeat. Listen to the Dhamma talk. Listen to the wisdom. Listen to the guidance of the beating heart, as if it were important. Subtle, refined, dynamic, powerful, important, vital. It is your vital beat. One hand here, one hand there. Together with everything already. Immediately, spontaneously, together with everything. Okay, here we go. I was thinking about this, and now we have an invitation. So listen up, or else. You don't want to see me when I'm angry, okay? You don't want to see me when I'm angry. Oh, listen to this.
The main practice that I always say that I love to do is to shine that same awareness that we can put on our breath, on my suffering or my experience of pain, and in the body and in the mind, because there's so much to learn there when you stop and are aware of your suffering. Like any even the slightest tension in your belly, in your shoulders, see, shine the light of mindfulness on it, and then you see it right away. It changes. You start to relax. You're actually using your body's natural capacity to heal by giving your attention to that part of your body or part of your thinking in your mind. The main practice that I
What's this guy talking about?
Master, I'm sorry, but how can you recognize whether the perfect teaching is really really self-mastery, or whether it's really doing something with affliction? How can you recognize it?
You can't.
You cannot. Now listen to me. This is the preliminary. I'm the preliminary. It's like a video game. Not really, but let's say that it is. It's like a video game. And you want to get the Nibbana power, wisdom power, magic, spiritual power, okay? You want to go into all of these Buddhist practices. You want to be a meditator. You want to listen to Dhamma talks. You want to have a profound understanding, right? But to do that, you have to kind of you have to shine the light of awareness on this big stupid idiot called yourself. All right? And so this is I'm the first level character that you're going to have to, that self is going to have to come across. And what that means is that you have to learn how to be, well, firstly you have to have a blessings or a karmic affinity to be interested, curious, to be open towards someone who has an experience of the Dhamma, right? And then you need to be with that and experience your picking and choosing and justification and validity of intellectual thinking to get knocked out. So maybe it was a lot easier when I was a monk, because people's egos have to say, well, that guy's a monk, you know, we have to listen a little bit to that. But now I'm just a Dharma bum. Maybe I'll change the YouTube channel to that name, a Dharma bum, or just a bum would be more accurate. So we have to experience that, where we're just sitting, we're just aware, we're just listening, we're concerned with the Dhamma, we're concerned with enlightenment, we're concerned with the path, whatever, and we just stay there. And we open, and we don't understand, and it doesn't particularly make sense, and yet direct experience. And yet the silence starts to sing to us like a bird. And that's when the spatial mind opens, and we have more access to listening to the Dhamma. Because we need a lot of blessings to hear the Dhamma, to listen to the Dhamma, to listen to the teachings of the Buddha. Gratitude, Green Shadow, for your donation, so I can support myself at this time, have a place to live, have a place to eat, have a place to do nothing yet. And continue teaching the Dhamma and spreading the Dhamma. Now, how to listen to the Dhamma?
Okay, that's all you have. All you have is where not to look, where it's not. That's all you have. Yes, none.
From YouTube, Jirhong says, if Master Xun does not have the sudden teaching, then he could not have the perfect teaching.
No, he has sudden teaching, a very slow sudden teaching. Sudden teaching has different gradations.
And Diego says, Amitofo Master, from what I've heard from my good knowing advisor, Venerable Sixth Patriarch and Master Shenhua, I guess, are the ones who do have the perfect teaching.
Yes, Master Six Patriarchs is far more advanced, sudden, and perfect teaching of Master Shenhua. No two ways about it. Okay? There's gradations.
You have to listen to the Dhamma. I talked about this, I think, in yesterday's live stream or recently. To approach the Dhamma, you have to have blessings and need. So to kind of cultivate that, you have to look at your life and look at your experience very seriously. And then you'll see that you are suffering and there's a need for help, or that others are suffering and you want to be empowered to help them. And you have to find something that you're curious about. You have to recollect your inner curiosity. And for some people, they have so much need that pushes them to get involved with the Dhamma, to meditate, to find spiritual teachers, to just listen because they're desperate. But another avenue is that you actually you are more authentic about what you know and what you don't know. And when you experience something that you don't know that's accessible to you, you're curious. And you're curious in a genuine way that leads you to listen openly. And then you see the effects from that, you know.
We also have a different question from NorCal Daniel. He has a personal question. He says, Master, there's a wave of challenges at work and school right now, and on top of that, I can't make it to the temple because of these challenges and my unsatisfaction with myself. I feel ambitious to improve myself more and more. Is there any advice for me on how to navigate these times right now?
Try your best.
Try your best. Do, 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 do. Try your best. We've got a song for that as well. And I've got you, Melina. You hold on for a sec. Because I don't want you to miss out on this. It's fading. Whatever arises will fade, so you don't have to, well, I can't find it anyway. So, essential to stability of mind for a human being is a robust community, a robust experience of community. When we don't have a particularly robust developmental experience of community growing up, there's natural instability. in the family or in the personal mind, for sure. And when we go from that, or a culture or society that doesn't particularly support or facilitate a deeper understanding of the mind, when we go from that to taking psychedelics, it's basically pushing us up into a realm of the mind where we have no authority. And because we've been pushed up into this realm of the mind where we have no authority, we have experiences that destabilize us, destabilize our basis of faith, trust, mental congruency in the authority of our own mind or our own experience. And this leads to a kind of continuous instability. So the most important practice that we're working on in spiritual life, in spiritual development, is developing stability. And when we already have a basis of instability, we're going to have a very hard time applying these Dhamma teachings without community, without guidance, without a teacher to take refuge in. I, ultimately, right, I have to take refuge in myself, so to speak. And ultimately, you have to take refuge in yourself. Ultimately, your gut, your heart, your experience, your mind is what can allow you to test and know. Your own gut knows what you can eat. Your gut doesn't know what I can eat. My gut doesn't know what you can eat, ultimately. But in the midst of that, if we identify a spiritual teacher or a bum or a friend or a parent or whoever it is that we say, oh, this is a trustworthy person, I feel safe, I feel comfortable, I feel that this supports my development and my balance, we especially in spiritual practice, we take refuge in that person. We take refuge in that mind to mind relationship so that we can give up our own worry about our own inner authority to the person who is maybe more comfortable or that we happen to have a connection with, right? That this is something that your gut can consume and that brings benefit to you. So that's very important on the spiritual path. That can be very, very, very important. And like everything in life, it can also be trepidatious. But if we put ourselves into this position of skepticism, where we can only have trust or faith in someone else according to what other people say or according to a big psychological narrative or idea or standards that we set arbitrarily, that's the only way we can trust someone or take refuge in someone else, you lose complete connection with your gut. And your gut is what knows more than anything else what you can eat and what can help you. Okay? And ultimately, yes, you have to rely on yourself. I have to rely on myself. But this refuge, this relationship, interdependent relationship is very important, especially when we identify someone who is relatively farther along on the path than we are. Okay? And we can support each other in different ways. This is the way that I support people who, for one way or another, are entertained by me or take refuge in me or what have you. Go ahead, nurse. Does that make sense for everybody? And it all comes back to There's nothing interpersonal in the Dhamma. Everything interpersonal is not dharmic. Interpersonal things happen, practical situations and relationships and communications happen, but there's nothing interpersonal in Dhamma. Dhamma is not personal. Dhamma is impersonal. Dhamma is impermanence. Dhamma is that and that and that and that, and whatever you say and whatever you think are unsatisfactory and ungraspable. And that is a Dhammic relationship. That's why spiritual relationships are based on generosity, and the capacity someone has to either be generous or to detach from phenomena is how they can have a relationship together. And there's it can be two people who are both very skillful in detachment, two people who are both very skillful in generosity, two people who are, one is skillful in generosity, one is skillful in detachment, vice versa, etc. But it's not based in interpersonal relationships. This is not a hub for interpersonal dynamics. This is a hub, like I said earlier, Bante or Rob or Chandao or Vajra or a bum starts a meditation center, and you bought the meditation center, and this bum who's a meditation bum lives at the meditation center, and he's really about the Dhamma and detachment, and he's been in his room meditating and doing God knows what, and you're fed up. You want this guy to come clean and cook and do something, for God's sakes. So you come to knock on his door and say, hey, it's time to wake up. But that bum was already awake, already heard you coming. So the moment that you knock on that door, now, that's not an absolute, it's just an example of the brilliant flame of detachment that is not based in expectations or standards of the world, or people, or places, or situations. And that is the non-expectation of spacious, spontaneous awareness that's not about anything. And this is an exceptional path of nothing in particular. Wonderful, Belina. You're very welcome. No expectation, just generosity. That's where authenticity is. That's where real Dhamma is. That's where a real generosity is. No expectation, just giving. And from my side, that's the solution to most of the problems in the world, is that we are lacking in an overflow of giving. It's not just giving by itself. Giving by itself is conditional, it's contractual, it's planned, it's managed, it's exploited, etc. So giving without any room for that is the answer to so many problems internally and externally, personally and socially. Just giving. An overflow of giving that flows out, that wipes out all the accumulated trash in this river of self, other, life, situations, etc. But this is mostly about detachment. This is mostly about the, just settling in release. So it's an overflowing of generosity for your own personal practice of release, of no practice of release. And then from that, you be practical and simple. It's not like we're a bunch of millionaires and billionaires running around. So you chop wood, carry water, take care, be simple-minded, be gentle, be kind, be compassionate, forgive yourself, forgive others, leave it at that. And that's on Buddha. Basically, everything that you own is an illusion. Okay, so let's take this phone. I can, I am holding this phone. It's here in my hand. I can be using it, right? Okay, here. Where is that phone? And who owns it? Let alone your house, let alone that person that you aren't seeing or hearing. So it's illusory in its presentation or in its sense of being permanent. And that doesn't mean that we reject things. It means that we use them without attachment. We make mistakes without attachment. We do the right thing without attachment. We follow Jesus without attachment. We follow Buddha without attachment. We give, we donate without attachment. We don't give, we don't donate without attachment. We listen without attachment. We don't listen without attachment. We leave a like on this YouTube video without attachment. We don't leave a like on this YouTube video without attachment. That's where generosity is. That's where trustworthiness is. That's where freedom is. Without attachment is the muscle of spirituality. You win an arm wrestling match without attachment. You lose an arm wrestling match without attachment. There's no competition in it. Or you compete without attachment, etc. It's really practiced like that. And because we seemingly, apparently, don't have the skill or ability to not be attached, we exercise or we stretch that ability by volunteering, by making donations, by helping people when we would rather spend time by ourselves, or sharing some of our things or our possessions or our time towards others when we would rather just use them for ourselves. So it's not this exceptionalism of your own mind. It's not this exceptionalism of you getting to an ideal or you practicing according to an ideal. It's an action that correlates with how reality actually is, rather than how we think about it. The concept of non-dualism is ungraspable. Because it's not a concept. nor is it not a concept, etc. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, we're coming to a release. Patience and openness, and really letting go of this getting to a place of success or getting to a place of stability. Within instability is release. Within stability is release. What's being released? Nothing. It's just release. Release and relax whole body and mind, together with everything. Okay, let's sit together and let's all spend some time with Jesus. I want to show you something here that is currently unknown. And that is, I do like this here.
I have crossed the horizon to find you. I know your name. They have stolen the heart from inside you. But this does not define you.
which is nobody. So the emotion, we take a Buddhist leaning here. This is not a Hindu channel, and it's okay to get some emotion in there, but that emotion is for mindfulness and detachment and hope, and especially for those people who are suffering in the mental health issues and complicated thinking issues, and all of these kinds of things, who are open to the path. Let's bring some hope in there, but we bring that hope in with mindfulness and detachment, the power of impermanence. All right, get out of here. And that's the beautiful thing. Think about, you're working some job, you're in this difficult situation, you're a cool guy, you're a nice girl, you love your life, but you're stuck in this situation working, and then your boss comes in or somebody comes in, they say, go get back to work, da 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 da. And then with the power of ending and finishing, you can't go around punching people. It's not that we want to hurt that, but we want to offer the ending to that. We want to offer the releasing to that. And you can't go do that at your job at McDonald's, but you can do that within yourself, facing all this complicated thinking, all this suffering, all this stress. So that's the kind of power that we get when we do turn inwards and stop. Don't get it twisted. This is a movement, and it's not malignant. Together with everything. It's not as much about desiring stillness as much as it is about stopping and listening, or stopping and seeing. Malignant. What is malignant? It's not malevolent, I think. So if it's not malignant, no, that's not even a real word, huh? Anyways. There's no becoming in this as well. We're not working to become a spiritual practitioner. We're not working to become enlightened. We're not working to become happier, more peaceful. Everything. Everything. Okay? Because when we're so hyped up about our own ego, we can't appreciate the power of nature. We can't appreciate the power to end suffering in just a little bird bouncing around. or colors or leaves on the ground or the wind. And it's not about defeating that ego, just seeing how transparent it is, how ultimately transparent the ego is, that it's just a big ball of nothing. A little birdie so close right here, chipping and very close, fly away. So we'll end our live stream here now. Thank you everyone for being here. Um,
Guru Brahma Sade Om Ahum Bhajaram Guru Brahma Sade Om Ahum Bhajaram Guru Brahma Sade Siddhi